A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. Going to have a interesting show today because we got some interesting news yesterday from Titans training camp as Sadiq Charles is retiring from the NFL, and that is a Titans starter down from the initial depth chart that you and Sam talked about yesterday. So Jack going to have quite the doozy of a show to talk about all that is going on with Sadiq Charles and what the Titans are missing out on, and really where they're going to turn to, because I think this is a surprise to just about everybody for Sadiq Charles to hang up the cleats at just 25 years old. So going to have a great conversation about that. We'll set the table for Titans training camp today as Sam is already over there across the street behind me at St. Thomas Sports Park. Brian Callahan is talking to some media on a side combo press conference, not really a press conference, just a side chat powwow, if you will, to get some extra detail and background for the local reporters there. And then this starts at 8:30. So it'll be another quick show here on this Wednesday. Jack, we're going to have a good one here as I'm in the parking lot. Hopefully the Bluetooth and the hotspot hold up well. It's a very foggy, overcast day today, which tends to mess with the signal. So fingers crossed behind your back. If you guys could help us out, that would be fantastic here on the show. So Jack, welcome in. Let's get this show on the road and tell the people what they got to do.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. While y'all are filing in, it's going to be an abbreviated show today. Let's get it going as quickly as possible. Let's do our homework as quickly as possible. So like the show on the way in. It helps us grow. You guys know that liking the show, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, is good for A to Z Sports, helps us reach new audience members. Please drop a thumbs up on your way in. If you're watching on Facebook, share the show. Please share it to at least one of your Titans Facebook groups. Same goes over there. We want to bring in everybody we possibly can. Some weird news dropped yesterday. We're going to hit on it. We're going to figure out what's going on and maybe what's coming for the Titans after this news. If you're watching on YouTube, tap that bell icon near the top of your screen and turn your notifications on. You don't want to miss an update. Austin's out there today live with Sam. You're gonna stay up to date if you turn those notifications on. So tap that bell icon on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, text that Twitch link around to your Titans text groups. If you're at work, you're getting ready for work, you're getting ready to get off work, send it to a coworker, send it to any Titans fan that you might have in the office. Let's wake them up today. And Austin, with all that said, let's get the show on the road.
Yep, let's do it officially on a Wednesday. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Jack Tinter, the Tighten Up Podcast, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Like Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get a quote today to get better coverage with our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So the Titans O-line takes another hit. That's a headline written by Big Ten Jeff, right? Right out here in the comments, Jack, as Sadiq Charles was put on the retired list yesterday by the Tennessee Titans on a Tuesday afternoon transaction that I don't think really anybody saw coming. And I think there was some irony with this, Jack, because you and Sam talked yesterday morning about the first unofficial depth chart that came out, and we all knew that you see here with the unofficial depth chart in the offense, and the starting right guard was Sadiq Charles. That also takes me to even more irony because, Jack, I've had this new starters graphic for many months at this point, and every time I put up the new starters graphic, I says, well, Sadiq Charles isn't on this list, but I think he's going to be your starting right guard, but I haven't put him on the graphic yet. Well, yesterday morning, I put Sadiq Charles on the graphic in the bottom right because the official depth chart came out, and you see Sadiq Charles as your starting right guard, so he deserved to go on the new starters graphic with everybody else there, all the new faces. Jamal Adams was on that starting defensive depth chart too. Now, Quandre Diggs officially became official by the team yesterday morning as well, but just the day that Sadiq Charles goes on the graphic, Sadiq Charles calls it quits in the NFL and hangs up the cleats with that. So we'll talk about that here in a second more at length. I am out here at St. Thomas Sports Park for Titans training camp practice here a little bit later this morning. So before we dive into more Sadiq Charles reaction, first want to tell you guys all about our great training camp sponsor this season, and that is Smoky Mountain Tops. Smoky Mountain Tops is where you should turn for all of your new countertop needs in your bath or in your kitchen. Call the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops. Family owned and operated for over 30 years. They've installed countertops in Bridgestone Arena and Neyland Stadium. You've seen their work there. They've got the luxurious Handstone Premio Quartz collection seen in both Nashville and Knoxville studios. Handstone Quartz is known for quality and exceptional design with over 50 colors and unique patterns to draw your inspiration from. So Handstone's Premio collection has depth and translucent qualities, offering a one-of-a-kind possibility to any design environment. So call the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops to schedule an appointment to see that Handstone Premio Quartz, or check them out online, SmokyMountainTops.com, and tell them you heard them on A to Z Sports. So Jack, discussing the shocking retirement of Sadiq Charles, as Sam put it out there, absolute stunner. Titans right guard Sadiq Charles is retiring, was viewed as a starter heading into training camp, and on that unofficial depth chart, Sam adds he just turned 25 years old. He missed practice this weekend for personal reasons, per Brian Callahan. So, Jack, I'll give you a second to kind of react to the news of Sadiq Charles hanging up and calling it a career at just the age of 25.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely a surprise. Like, this is a guy that it felt like the Titans handpicked. I mean, they signed Sadiq Charles on Tuesday night of free agency. It was a guy they had targeted, and it felt like Bill Callahan and Brian Callahan both kind of sought out him to be, the starter at right guard. And Kane asks a question early in the show. He says, "Why are y'all making it such a big deal?" Especially when you all said he wasn't that good. I mean, the Titans just lost their starting right guard.
Who said he wasn't that
as
good?
Things currently stand? When you lose a starter on the offensive line, especially coming off the season that the offensive line had last year, that's not something to just brush under the rug. It's a big deal. It's absolutely a big deal. Look, Dylan Radin's next option, Daniel Brunskill behind him, but Sadiq Charles is a 320-pound right guard, and he started 11 games on the left side for the Washington Commanders last year, dealt with a calf injury, so maybe that played into this decision. But absolutely a big loss when you talk about reshaping the offensive line. You felt, fairly good about the improvements that were made in the offseason. Now, before the first week of preseason, you lose Charles. It's I guess the silver lining is it's better to lose him now when you have 4 preseason games to work with, Dylan Radins and Daniel Brunskill at that spot. But the Titans lost a valuable member to the offensive line. He was supposed to be a big help to them up front.
Yeah, he's basically been the guy taking starting reps this entire training camp. Like, there hasn't been really a lot of rotation at the right guard spot like there has been for right tackle. And so now you're sitting here wondering what it's going to be. And I think the other thing about this that I find really fascinating is that Sadiq Charles was brought here because Bill Callahan liked what he saw on his film. Like, Bill Callahan, the Titans hired Randy Jordan as the running back, who came over from Washington. And the story on Charles's free agent signing was that Callahan liked the upside. You had his college teammate and center Lloyd Cushenberry that you also signed early on in free agency. And you thought this was an opportunity to put 2 really good athletic guys who are big, that know each other, that right next to center and right guard, and figure out the right tackle. And then you've got Skoronski and Latham on the left side of the O-line. You're moving forward. And it seemed like that was the plan. Now, here's the awkward thing about this is that I don't know what happened over the weekend where Sadiq Charles stepped away and missed a couple practices for personal reasons. I don't know if we know this. I don't know if Brian Callahan, I'm sure he's going to be asked about it here in a minute when he meets kind of on the record, off the record powwow with reporters here momentarily at St. Thomas Sports Park behind me. But like, he's going to be asked about it. But will Brian Callahan give actual truth, or is it just going to be some overall statement of, well, he just decided it's not for him? And so I think for us as media and fans, it's hard to judge somebody because you're thinking, dude, you just signed with this team. Somebody in the chat asked, do the Titans get money back for this? It was a 1-year deal for a little over $1 million. It wasn't like it was a lot of money. But yeah, like, the Titans signed Sadiq Charles for him to be a part of this offense and a part of this starting offensive line. And it didn't work out. And before you get to the first preseason game, the guy's like, yeah, I, I'm retiring. And for whatever reason, it feels like there's something else going in here. And so if Sadiq Charles is dealing with something, then you hope the best for him and his family situation and however that goes. But it's hard for us to speculate what happened, but it is definitely a bummer. And Jack, Sam and I did a show in the spring around the NCAA basketball tournament. And our question topic was, who is the Titans Cinderella signing of free agency? And I said it was Sadiq Charles, that people were not looking at him as a important part of this free agent class. I thought Sadiq Charles was going to be the starting guard back in March during that show. Well, the Cinderella signing, the clock struck midnight, and it was August 6th to hang it up and retire from the NFL at just 25 years old, which is very, very young, as we all know.
Yeah, and obviously Sadiq Charles is not a Pro Bowl right guard, but anytime you go out and you're intentional about signing somebody to help fix an issue from last season, and then that guy dips on you, it's a tough situation to be in for Brian Callahan, for Rand Carthon as well. Because Rand Carthon's going to have to start sifting through some of the camp cuts that start happening eventually and evaluating those guys. Maybe a Bill Callahan guy comes available later in training camp. But another thing like that's going to make things harder is this rule now where you're not going to be able to. There's not these waves of cuts in training camp anymore. Now you have to wait and wait and wait for that massive cut at the end of camp. So even if you do go outside of the box to make another signing, you're going to have to get that guy up to speed pretty quickly. So right now, I mean, it feels like Dylan Radin's like this is his moment.
It does feel like it could be Dylan Radin's moment. So, Jack, let's go ahead and send it to the chat and get our first question of today's show. And that question is, do you think the Titans have their starting right guard on the roster, or do they need to go outside and sign somebody else? We'll also get some update from the news around the NFL regarding the interior offensive line market. Something that happened last night. But do you think the Titans have their starting right guard on the roster, or do they need to go sign somebody else? So, Jack, we'll get you to the comment section here momentarily. But first, I want to tell everybody about our great friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans. FBHP.com/ATOZ is where to go to get a link to get a quote that can help lower your cost of your health plan, but also get better coverage in general. So Farm Bureau Health Plans have been serving Tennesseans for over 78 years, and they do a phenomenal job of finding the right type of plan for you, your family, whatever your situation may be, whether you have young kids, whether you have kids that are out of the house on their own, and you and your spouse need to find that next level of coverage in life. Farm Bureau Health Plans specializes in creating a custom plan for you, not just these cookie cutter plans that everybody else has in the marketplace, but for you, Farm Bureau Health Plans. If you're a Tennessean, that's where you should turn and who you should trust. FBHP.com/ATOZ.
BetMGM, it's the king of sports books. Download BetMGM. New users plug in our bonus code A to Z Sports and get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. Tons of stuff to go right now. I mean, you can bet on futures for college football and the NFL. A lot of fun in the Olympics going on right now as well if you want to get some skin in the game over there. New users, make sure you download this app and use our bonus code A to Z Sports to take full advantage of this promo, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses.
All right, Jack. So we asked the question. I will send you to the chat. And the question is, do you think the Titans have their starting right guard on the roster, or do they need to go sign a different player? I'll let you go. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Make sure you guys like the show as well. Hit that like button if you're watching as practice gets started in about 10 to 15 minutes here. So, Jack, what's the chat saying about the starting right guard on the roster, or need to go sign somebody else?
Titans Kyle says he believes it's Radin's. Hello Lady says both. The starting right guard is on the roster, but you also need to go sign somebody. JR says it's Radin's. Outside from Eric Castillo, we've got Radin's. Go sign someone from Jason. They've got him on the roster. Outside, both. They're fine. Not on the roster. Yes, give Radin's a chance. The right guard we need is not on this team yet. Jason Brown says it is on this team. First, how much do we have? Titans are still in pretty good shape salary cap wise, and right guards aren't going to break your bank in general, especially ones that get cut or the barren wasteland that is the current free agency market at the right guard position. Nobody's going to really put a dent in your budget. Yes. To start the season, yes, Chris Jump says maybe that changes. Like I said, camp cuts come late this year, so if you do go get somebody on the outside, you're going to have to get them up to speed. It may take a little while. And Radens, if that is who your guy is, he's going to have to show some holes. And, it's going to be a big season for Radens, obviously, for multiple reasons, being a contract year. Sign somebody else, says Willie. Sign someone for depth. They've got him on the roster. It's Radens. Sign somebody. No starters out on the market. So, yes, the Titans starting right guard is on the roster from courtesy. Darius thinks it's going to be Radens. Brunskill can be a backup right guard, true. Let's see, add depth, but let Radens take the reins. Austin, I'm going to cut it right there because I'm kind of with Bork, and I believe Hello Ladies also was on both. Radens is going to start at right guard for this team, and I think that's a good thing. I think Radens' ceiling is still something that Titans fans can feel optimistic about. Now, it's taken too long for him to develop, but potentially with Bill Callahan, this helps. Now, the problem is Sadiq Charles was an entire weight class above Radens. Like, Radens is 6'6". It's good height, but he's 300 pounds. Sadiq Charles checked in at 322 pounds. That's a big difference on the offensive line. So I think Radens is going to start the season, a second-round draft pick. Hopefully the Titans can find some return on that investment from a few years ago, but you still need to go find another depth piece. Because if something happens to Radens, I mean, we saw Daniel Brunskill thrown into the fire last year. He played okay at best, but I'm not confident in either Radens or Brunskill to do a good job. Like, maybe they can just hold the wall, if you will, Game of Thrones fans. But Dylan Radens is going to start this season, in my opinion. But you still need to go out and find somebody else, maybe with Callahan ties, to come in and push Radens throughout the season. Or, because, I mean, Radens is not exactly it's not a stable situation having Radens start. Go find another guy who you can plug in case Radens starts to stink, and have kind of an emergency option like Daniel Brunskill for even though he has experience at right guard. Like, if something happens to Cushenberry, that's where Brunskill's going. So Titans are in a tough spot right here. I think Radens starts the season at right guard, but I think the Titans also have another move up their sleeve.
Yeah, so you think they have another move up their sleeve. So about that, Connor Williams, who played for the Dolphins last year, I believe got hurt during the game against the Titans on Monday Night Football that the Titans came back and won. Signed last night with the Seattle Seahawks. Connor Williams is a veteran interior offensive line, a lot of play at center for the Dolphins, but has ability at guard. So that was probably the top available interior O-lineman on the free agent market. So he's off the board last night, going to Seattle, who ironically will be here next week. A week from today, the Seattle Seahawks and Connor Williams will practice in Nashville. And look, you got Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams out there, two former Seahawks. So that could be definitely a fun practice for that point. But so you're talking about the domino effect of this, right? So I thought an interesting question and answer, or really more of an interesting answer from a good question for Bill Callahan back in June before we all broke for the summer, was somebody asked about the right side of the offensive line. And instead of Bill Callahan talking about the right side of the offensive line, he said, well, first things first is we have to get our center depth, because you guys all know how fast center depth can be gone. And that tells me that they view Daniel Brunskill, and what we've seen so far in camp is that it is more important for Daniel Brunskill to be the backup center to Lloyd Cushenberry than Daniel Brunskill being the starting right guard. So I think that's just something that we have to kind of keep in mind, that I don't know if they really want Daniel Brunskill to play right guard at all. I think they want Daniel Brunskill to stay as healthy as possible to be able to go in if something happens to Lloyd Cushenberry. And so Daniel Brunskill, who was limping through the majority of last season with an ankle injury and got shut down towards the end of it, you don't want your backup center to get rolled up on playing right guard, and now you're really, really thin because you might have to replace a couple players. So I think that's the domino effect of this. So I agree with you that the first move is for Dylan Radins to be inserted as the right guard at this point. You brought up a great point as well that there's only the one cut in training camp. It's from 90 all the way down to 53. They used to have the 75 number right before the last preseason game where maybe teams can go find somebody else, but that's not the case. And then Kenneth and some others brought up the question, then why did they sign Corey Levin? Well, they signed Corey Levin because Daniel Brunskill missed the first couple of days of practice because he was sick. And so when you have Andrew Rupchich playing backup center, who is not a center at all, you needed somebody at the center position to help you get through practice. And so that is where Corey Levin comes into play. And that's another part of the domino piece. If Dylan Radins fails as right guard, Daniel Brunskill is your best option there interior inside in the house. Then you have Corey Levin as your backup center. But, Corey Levin, there's a reason why he's been available up until last week or 2 weeks ago when everybody started their training camp and Corey Levin was still in Nashville waiting on the Titans to call. So I do think the answer initially is Radins. I think he will get the best chance to start in week 1 in Chicago. I think the Titans still might have their eye on the waiver wire. They have the 7th waiver wire spot because of their draft order. And so they might be looking for an interior lineman that gets cut because of a numbers game, or maybe they look to make a trade once we get a couple weeks into the Dylan Radins right guard era to see where it comes from.
Yeah, and Austin, I want to ask you a question. Cole Spencer, Brian Dooley, Rupchich, all these guys are listed as depth pieces on the interior, whether that be at guard or center. Do you feel like any of the players I just named could potentially surprise at training camp and during the preseason?
No, I don't. I don't really see much. They can be good interior depth. Like you could have one of those guys you mentioned be on the roster as your 8th or 9th, maybe 10th lineman that's most likely inactive on game days, because you have to have at least 8 offensive linemen active on game days. Right now, it was going to be the starting 5, including Charles, Dylan Radins, Daniel Brunskill, and whoever the third tackle is, right? Ojukwu or Jerron Christian or Duncan. We'll have to kind of see how that transpires now. So yeah, we're gonna have to watch this. Now, I do have a stat, Jack, that is very interesting about Dylan Radins, and I want to get to this stat based off of what Dylan Radins did last year. But first, I want to tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org. That is where you should turn whenever an injury pops up in life. They've taken care of me with a couple different injuries the last few years. They help educate you to make sure that when the injury pops up, you know how to deal with it, and then they help you get through it, and then you know how to continue to take care of it and manage it L'Jarius Sneed style for the rest of your life. It's something like my tendonitis that's going to hang around for a while. And I have to have a constant mindset of making sure I protect that. And the Bone and Joint Institute equipped me with the knowledge and the education to be able to do that with my left knee. So they can do that with you. They've got all the resources and over a dozen expert physicians there in Franklin, right off of I-65 and Highway 96. They've also got rehab facilities and satellite clinics across Williamson County for your convenience as well, including one in Brentwood that I hit up during my physical therapy stint back in the spring. So whenever you have an injury, make sure you know where to go to get it taken care of. boneandjointtn.org.
BetMGM.com, the king of sportsbooks. Use our bonus code A to Z Sports when you sign up, and new users will get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. If you want to make that first bet on an NFL future or a college football season win total, that's all kosher on BetMGM. It's all up there, easy to navigate. The Olympics are going on right now. You can jump in the game over there as well. But new users, when you sign up with BetMGM, make sure you use our bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, so a couple comments I want to get to, and I have this Dylan Radins stat, but real quick, some news that came out of Brian Callahan's availability this morning. As Clayton put it up there, linebacker Garrett Wallow tore his pectoral. That was Sunday at practice. I remember seeing some injury issues there, but Garrett Wallow will miss the entire season, according to Brian Callahan, with a torn pectoral. And as Sam put out there on Twitter from that update, Chance Campbell, Ole Miss guy, Jack. Chance Campbell, I think, stopped climbing a little bit at inside linebacker. right there. So
that's White Patrick Willis, baby. He's coming. He's inevitable.
he made some plays on Saturday. Sam and I talked about that. Videos up on YouTube from after Saturday's practice. Okay, Noah comes in with a super chat. Make sure you hit that like button. Like the show on Facebook, on YouTube. Please hit that like button for us as practice starts here in about 5 minutes. Noah says, Radens has been the definition of an up and down lineman. I would like to see what he looks like with competent teammates on both sides, since interior O-line success is more about the unit as a whole. So I think it's a really good comment there by Noah, as I just heard the practice starting horn behind me. So they're starting warm-ups. I've got time because they do warm-ups that I don't need to be there for. They do special teams periods that I can get the information from the others. So we've got some extra time here on the show because Noah brings up a good thing. So up and down offensive linemen. And here's the stat that I was going to bring up, Jack, and to go along with Noah's. Snaps last season for Dylan Radens on the offensive line. He played 774 total snaps. The most snaps he played, right tackle, 504 snaps at right tackle last season. Second most, left guard, 166 snaps. Left tackle, 85 snaps. And Jack, the guy that most think is the current Titans starting right guard, played only 19 snaps at right guard last season for the Tennessee Titans. So Noah says up and down offensive linemen, right? That's, Radens' redemption. This is the opportunity for him to prove that he can make up for what has been a very, very underwhelming draft pick as the second round of one of John Robinson's last drafts. If he can be the right guard here and play competent above average football for the right guard position, then I think that's a big deal. He has a big chance at redemption. He's got to cut down on the false starts, and he has to make sure that other penalties and just overall play is much better. But he's been moved around all the time. So I think that's Noah. He's been so up and down. He came back from the ACL injury. I talked to him in the spring. He likes where he's at with his body now and knowing that he is a guard only. So this is the best chance that Dylan Radens has ever had. We have a big-time impact with this Titans team.
Yeah, Billy Jones says jack of all trades, master of none. And Radens has been asked to play everywhere, which hasn't really been helpful to him. But the Titans have needed him in multiple spots. I think you bring up a good point. Him playing next to Lloyd Cushenberry could be a big difference this season, right? I mean, you had Aaron Brewer, who was severely undersized at the center position, needed help no matter where Radens was on the inside. Aaron Brewer needed help against some of the bigger, better defensive tackles in football. Cushenberry's going to be able to handle those guys solo this season. So I think that allows Radens to kind of focus on one guy. Obviously you can double team when certain pass rushers come into town. But I do think that Radens is going to benefit from having Cushenberry on the left-hand side of him, and hopefully NPF on the right, if NPF can come out there and really put a stamp on the right tackle job. So I do think that Lloyd Cushenberry helps both Skoronski and Radens this season in a year where they really need production out of the interior offensive line, because you got a rookie left tackle on one side and NPF on the other who's unproven on the right. You need some solid play inside, and Cushenberry is going to be a big help to both of those dudes in there.
Yep, without a doubt. A to Z Sports here live on the show. I did put out a YouTube poll, so I want to get to that before I bounce and head out to practice. I asked the question on YouTube that we asked on the show. The Titans starting right guard is options on the roster or sign someone else. 73% say the Titans starting right guard is on the roster, which, Jack, Radens. I think 73%, that sounds about right based on the comments that we saw on both Facebook and on YouTube. Don't you think?
Yeah, oh yeah, big time. And I'm pulling for Radens big time. I really hope this thing works out. It's a big year for the guy, like I mentioned. And, with this opportunity, nobody fighting behind him really, and they're working Brunskill in at center. Radens is going to get the lion's share of the snaps and, in the reps at practice, in training camp, and in the preseason games. I hope Radens plays till halftime and maybe even deeper in the preseason games. They got to get this thing going, and they've got to get Radens feeling confident up front at the starting position. He's going to be relied upon this season, it feels like, and I think it's good for him that he's going to be taking a whole lot of reps coming up.
That's right. So apologies for the connection today when it is overcast outside. The hotspot is low. No, I do not have AOL. I do have Verizon, which, hey, that's just how it rolls here with the weather. It's better for me because I'm not sweating one bit out here. It's humid, and I've been standing outside for about 40 minutes at this point. But no sweat because it's no sunshine. But no sunshine and a bunch of clouds mean worse hotspot. So apologies for that. We'll be better tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow's weather is more cooperative when it comes to that. That'll be it for us. Again, make sure that you check out all of our social media content coming from training camp, probably on our socials in the next 10 to 15 minutes. And always shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. So go see Wilson County Hyundai in Lebanon or save some money there because you're not paying downtown prices. Although try to go to Lebanon today, you might hit a big traffic. I don't know if you saw this, Jack, but there is two 18-wheeler trailers collided overnight, and that is a mess out there east of town. So if you're headed towards Lebanon, be very, very careful. But WilsonCountyHyundai.com has it's actually the crash is beyond Wilson County Hyundai on that. So all set there. Make sure you like the show because we are heading out of here today for the morning show. Hit that like button on Facebook and on YouTube. That always helps us out. So please do that for us. Be a good viewer for us. Be a great A to Z teammate, an A to Z-ite, as Louis says. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning here again from Titans training camp. Buck Rising will be live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime and camp coverage to come here in the next few minutes from Sam and I at St. Thomas Sports Park. Catch you later. Appreciate it as always.
Tighten Up Pod After Dark out now.